Greetings and welcome to another edition of Political Empire. I'm your host, Kim Pierceall with the Press Enterprise and PE.com, here to give you the latest political news that's happening here in the inland region. We've got quite a bit today. We're going to talk about who the Koch brothers are endorsing here in the inland area. We're also going to talk about the Los Angeles County businessman, Phil Liberatore, who has given up on his recount. Also, it is the city, not the county, that may be filing for bankruptcy. And finally, politics as usual. We're going to talk a little bit about what is going on in San Bernardino, the city, not the county. And finally, redistricting in Riverside. There's been quite a bit of talk about new zones and areas for the city. First, though, we're going to mention real quick that the longtime mayor of Riverside, Mayor Ron Loveridge, has picked an endorsement. He is endorsing Rusty Bailey, incumbent councilman, to take his spot as mayor of the city of Riverside. So Lisa Robinson is going to be later to talk about redistricting, and maybe I'll ask her a couple questions about Mayor Loveridge's endorsement. But first, let's talk about the Koch brothers and their endorsement of John Tavaglione. So Koch Industries, which is owned by the oil tycoon brothers Charles and David Koch, they've given $2,500 to John Tavaglione, who is running in the incumbent lacking 41st Congressional District. That's according to filings. And this is of note because the brothers are among the biggest donors to GOP candidates in the nation. Ben Goad recently wrote about all of the donations that are flowing in. You can check that story on PE.com. Down for the count, Los Angeles County businessman Phil Liberatore, who finished just 240 votes shy of second place behind Assemblyman Paul Cook for a chance to win a congressional seat in the 8th district, has ended his recount. It would have cost him about $6,000 per day, and it wasn't looking good. So Cook will now go up against Tea Party favorite Greg Imus in that race again for the 8th congressional district. City, not the county. After the city of San Bernardino voted to move ahead with potentially filing for bankruptcy protection, San Bernardino County waved their arms and yelled, "Not us!" The county spokesman sent out a release last week reminding folks that it was the city, not the county, that was considering filing for Chapter 9. And that does it for headlines. We're going to be right back with our columnist, Cassie McDuff, who's going to give us a little more insight into everything that's been going on with the city of San Bernardino and their potential bankruptcy filing. We're back, and I'm joined with Cassie McDuff, our columnist here at the Press Enterprise, who covers quite a bit of the issues that are going on in San Bernardino County, and in particular, this past couple weeks, the city of San Bernardino and their potential filing for Chapter 9 bankruptcy protection. Ever since this announcement was made that they were in dire financial straits, fingers of blame have been flying furiously since this announcement, and among the reasons bandied about have been the political infighting. So here to talk to us more about this, Cassie, tell us about the longtime feud between Mayor Pat Morris and elected city attorney Jim Penman.
Well, certainly they've clashed on a lot of issues. Penman has questioned some of the mayor's initiatives, but this is not new in San Bernardino at all. Pat Morris is by no means the first mayor to clash with the city attorney. I think every mayor from Tom Minor to Judith Valles to Morris certainly has butted heads with Penman. I think each has started out believing that they can manage the relationship, that they can have a good relationship. Indeed, when Penman ran against Morris, he eventually pledged to back him and support him after Morris was reelected, and things just haven't really played out that way.
Well, and something to note, too, because I still talk to folks who are from outside the area who say, oh, it's your city attorney. And then when I mentioned elected city attorney, that confuses folks. So this is an elected position. He's been elected for quite a few terms now. So it is kind of a different situation than other cities. Curious, though, the political rancor that's going on there. Political rancor happens in every city. Why is it different in San Bernardino versus any other city?
Well, San Bernardino is a charter city. It's different from most California cities, which are general law cities. San Bernardino has an elected city attorney, as you mentioned. Now, other cities do have elected city attorneys, Los Angeles, for example, but they confine themselves more to analyzing legal issues and keeping the city out of legal trouble. In San Bernardino, the city attorney, he answers to the voters, not to the council or to the mayor, and so he's used his platform, his bully pulpit, to raise issues. He's even taken the step of taking off the hat of official city attorney and taking to the public lectern and speaking as a member of the public. So I think it's driven not just by the political structure of San Bernardino, but by the personality of the person in that office.
And like I noted before, some folks have actually mentioned this political disruption between the two of them, the positions, et cetera, as being a reason for the current financial state that they're in. Is that part of the reason why they're in such financial straits right now?
I really don't think so. I don't think that's accurate at all. In fact, this is one of those rare instances where you find the mayor and the city attorney pretty much on the same page that the city is out of options and bankruptcy is the route to follow. However, the city attorney differed from the mayor in the sense that he raised the issue that the financial documents had not been accurate over the years, had been falsified was a word he used, and that it had been covered up that the city had been borrowing from restricted funds, which are only to be used for certain purposes, and using that for general operating expenses and then paying back the money from the general fund when the money came in, but not letting the council know that the city was getting so close to the edge. Now, I've talked to council members who say that's not the case at all. The warnings have been there for a number of years.
Well, it's a pretty serious accusation to level, and curious, we wanted to clarify something too, because there was a press release sent out by criminal or authorities, law enforcement authorities, saying that they were investigating criminal acts that may have occurred within the city. But that has absolutely no relation whatsoever to the potential bankruptcy filing, correct?
Well, that's correct. The timing of the press release, which came from the Sheriff's Department and announced that there was a combined city police department, district attorney, and Sheriff's Department investigation of some allegations that had been raised several months ago in the city. The timing of it coming right after the city's action to go ahead and authorize the bankruptcy filing made people assume that there was some relationship. I talked to the sheriff. He said, as far as he knows, it has nothing to do with it. We even went so far as to go to the courts, and we found affidavits for search warrants, which indicate there's actually an investigation of bid rigging going on.
Well, Cassie, thanks so much for coming on the show to tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the city of San Bernardino, clarifying some issues as well. And I'm sure you're going to be coming back to give us a follow-up update on what's going on there.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks so much. We'll be right back with Alicia Robinson, our Riverside reporter, who's going to tell us a little bit about the redistricting measures there, and also tell us a little bit about who Mayor Ron Loveridge is endorsing. Welcome back. The city of Riverside is in the throes of changing its boundaries and doing redistricting right now. And I'm joined by our Riverside reporter, Alicia Robinson, who's going to tell us a little bit about this. Why now? Why are they changing the boundaries now?
Well, Kim, it's a process that a lot of other cities, and actually even at the state level, that has been gone through. Redistricting in conjunction with the 2010 census data. The boundaries of Riverside's council wards are being redrawn so that the populations of each ward are fairly close to being even, just so that everyone in each ward knows that they're getting fairly equal representation from their council members.
What's interesting to note here, though, is that usually a pretty standard process has turned into a very controversial process in Riverside. What's been going on, and why has this become fairly controversial?
Well, the city council took up the issue back in June, and they had several maps that were proposed by the city clerk's office, giving them several options, and they picked one, but they said, well, we want to tweak some of the boundaries on, the map. And they had a few objections from people who were at the meeting, but when they came back to do what was supposed to be the final vote of approval last Tuesday, they were met with a packed council chambers. There was more than an hour of public comment. People were very impassioned, opposing one of the proposed changes. People were clapping, for speakers they agreed with. They were heckling and booing things they didn't agree with. It was a very sort of an emotional and raucous meeting.
And that specific change is referring to the east side area that's just between the train tracks and the 91 freeway that's very close to downtown. And essentially, I think the Ward 1 representative, Mike Gardner, wanted to bring in that section to downtown because it includes Applebee's, includes Sevilla, that whole business district. But the east side residents were not pleased with that. Is that right?
That's right. Some of the businesses in that strip between the 91 and the railroad tracks, that's an area called the Marketplace, some of the businesses had asked for the change, saying, we feel more of an affinity with downtown. We feel like we would be able to do better sort of planning and just business sort of integration, helping each other's businesses mutually if we were a part of downtown, which is in Ward 1. So they wanted to become part of Ward 1, and Mike Gardner made that proposal. However, the east side, which that area is a part of now, some of the residents felt like this was an area that had traditionally been part of their neighborhood that was being carved out and taken away from them. And I think they very symbolically sort of felt like they were being robbed of something. And also they were upset because that change had not been on any of the maps that were presented to the public. It had come up in the course of some of the meetings that the city had with different groups. And so some of the residents felt that, hey, we weren't told about this. This came up at the last minute. And they felt like that it was being sprung upon them without giving them a chance to comment.
And because of some of the passionate responses, it sounds like this may change as of today, that Mike Gardner may be backing off of that proposal to integrate some of that area into his ward. So it's interesting, and you're going to have a story in tomorrow's paper about that. So hopefully folks will keep an eye out on PE.com and in the Press Enterprise to see what the latest is with this, and you'll certainly keep us posted on redistricting. Another topic of note today, because you've had quite the breaking news day, Mayor Loveridge, a longtime mayor of Riverside, has finally made his endorsement for mayor. Rusty Bailey, why is this a big deal, though? Why were we waiting with bated breath for Mayor Ron Loveridge's endorsement?
Well, now, in the lead up to the June 5th election, there were 7 candidates running for mayor. I think everyone knew it was essentially going to be a primary election, that we were not going to get one candidate taking 50% plus one needed to win outright. And Loveridge did not make any kind of an endorsement in the lead up to that election. And so everybody wondered, well, is he going to, now that we're down to 2 candidates going into the runoff, which are Councilman Rusty Bailey and former Councilman Ed Adkisson. And Loveridge has been in office between his 5 terms as mayor and his service prior on the council. He's been in office for 32 years. He's an institution in Riverside. So I think a lot of people, they were just curious. They want to know who he's going to support. And for a lot of people, that may indicate to them who they may want to support.
Nice. Well, lots of news today. Alicia, thanks so much for being here with us, and keep us posted certainly on the redistricting and all the endorsements for Riverside's mayor. And certainly stay tuned to the political empire in the coming weeks as we have many more updates on what's going on with all of our local elections and all of our local politics. I'm Kim Pierceall, and join us next week.